Hello, YouTubers. Welcome back for those of you who've been following the series. For those of you who just jumped in and you got trapped in episode 5, you may want to rewind and go back to episode 1 just so you can get a bigger perspective. We're on day 42 with Genesis and just wanted to give an update on what was happening with that. That's a real quick thing just to see the current numbers. Wanted to take a quick look at Bitcoin and just leave you with that information. So let's start off with the Bitcoin visit. And as we can see, Bitcoin is climbing pretty good over the past month. And we're at 4,700. So maybe we'll break that 5,000 number that Bitcoin peaked at a while back ago and see if we can get a new record. Now, unfortunately, in the case of mining Ethereum, which is what we're mining on Genesis, Ethereum's having a little bit harder time to catch up to where it was at some point. I think it was around 320 when we first did the numbers and we first started looking at investing in some cloud mining. And it's just been up and down. They really haven't been able to take off. And then Litecoin taking a little bit of a negative step here, dropping probably about 35-40%. So we'll see where all those go. But the leader, which is Bitcoin, does tend to pull up the other coins. And hopefully for the Ethereum mining, that'll happen. We are mining Bitcoin on a different service. And we're dying for some Bitcoin to be available at Genesis, but they haven't had any new plans in a while. So the first thing I want to review before we jump into the numbers, which is going to be pretty quick, is that from the research I'm doing in the other mining projects, as well as this one, what I'm seeing is that there's a pretty thin line of profitability in all of them. It's, I don't want to say razor thin, but that's pretty much what it's looking like because of the complexity of mining and the volume and how that changes the luck factor and just all kinds of different reasons why the numbers aren't really there for most of these other coins. Bitcoin seems to still be pretty strong, but we can't even do that, in a mining rig ourselves. You're going to have to get Antminers or, use cloud services like what we're doing. And the cloud services, I think, make a lot of sense. Now, having dealt with one of the rigs that we've been building, we started off with a simple rig, 2 mining cards, and there's some complexities there. We're IT people, and we were able to get through most of them. But for your average person, I think it would be a pretty big learning curve. So in general, right now, mining is looking like a pretty thin margin, and you got to like it in order to really get into it. And as computer people, we're definitely liking it. The other thing is, I had complained a little bit because Genesis was taking just ridiculous amounts of time to even consider responding to a couple of tickets. And in fact, when we opened the account 42 days ago, we opened a ticket and never had a response. And our last video was maybe a week ago or so. And by coincidence, we got a couple of days ago a response. It wasn't a good response, but it was a response, and they closed the ticket, and pretty much that was the end of it. But they are trying, and I think that, I've always thought in my mind, the volume is just crazy. And so one of the things that they did is they came out with, let me see, a blog here with their September update. Now, it was October, so they're really kind of reflecting backwards in October and saying, hey, we're reflecting on September. And the one thing that, there's a bunch to read here if you're into it, but the one thing that I got out of it is they have 1 million customers. And while I fully understand that, and that's no excuse for not having good customer service, it does go along the lines of what we suspected. Imagine how many people are out there trying to get a hold of them to ask questions that are maybe just silly questions. Maybe they can find it in the FAQ, or maybe watch a video, or different ways to gather information, and they're asking them. And then there are problems on the platform still that we'll go over in a minute. But at no point did I feel like, oh, Genesis is going to go out of business, oh, I'm going to lose my money, anything like that. It's just that they're overwhelmed, and they've got to figure out a way to better compensate for that volume, whether it be hiring more people or what have you. That's something that I feel pretty strongly about that they need to do. So having said that, they did reach out 40 some odd days afterwards, but at least it's a positive sign that they're trying to dig their way out of it. So let's go jump over to the panel. And, pretty much whenever I go here, the first thing I do is go to buy hash power and cross my fingers that I'm going to see Bitcoin. And if I happen to be making one of these videos and there's Bitcoin and I'm looking at this Ethereum contract and talking about it, I'm going to do a freeze right there. You guys will probably laugh at me, and I'll go, buy a bunch, because that's a profitable coin at the moment. So going into some of the issues I have with the contract is, originally when you buy and you place your order with a credit card, they kind of put a hold on your payouts. So here's my payouts from the beginning until now, but they really aren't able to be taken out because the balance here says 0. So that's something weird that happened. And then the newer payouts that have come after 9/29 are under payouts, which is expected. Now, this is also another issue that I have, and that is that these payouts are not coming in on a regular basis. So today is the 10th, and they actually caught up. But there's literally been times here where there's been 3-4 days with no numbers. So that's disappointing. And then here you can see we've got 10-2, we skip 10-3, go to 10-4, skip 10-5, go to 10-6, get a 7, an 8, and a 9. So somehow those are good, but these transactions just got lost in space. The numbers aren't doubled because, as you can see here, all these numbers are pretty close in value. So that's the only negative I want to say about it. Hopefully they'll catch up, they'll clean things up, and that'll get fixed with basically just throwing more manpower at it. But now I want to talk about the important part, which is how's the Ethereum mining doing and cloud mining. I'm still going to stick to my guns in that if you tried to buy some equipment and you had it in your office, you're probably not going to do better than cloud mining. And so I think that a lot of those people who are like, cloud mining is a scam, I think it's more about, of course, the company you're picking. Genesis is a legitimate company. But in this case, it's about the coin you're picking and the timing of the coin. So if we go to our spreadsheet, once again, you see updates and changes. And, right now, if we look at the first month in this first line, we fell short. We were at 71% of the calculated revenue that we should have gotten. And then this month, even though all the months aren't done, they basically are at about 61% of where we're supposed to be. So it's actually lower. Now, one of the reasons that last month was down is because when we started this project, Ethereum was at 320. And as you know, if you've watched these videos before, we've got some XML, which I've actually moved out to just here, where it goes out and gets the Ethereum and Bitcoin pricing live every so often. So this is kind of changing on the fly to let us see the real numbers. So when we started, if this was at 320, these values would be a little bit higher, and that's why it would have made sense that we would be profitable. But given the circumstances that Ethereum went way down and now is at least back to 301, is why we're short with these numbers. And the projected is still 71%, and a break-even point is still around the 15th month. But I think reality is it's going to be a little bit lower, and the only thing that will save it is going to be that the coin goes up in value. So if the coin goes up another $50, then all these numbers are going to look better and it'll be great. In the long run, the one thing that we can say is we probably won't lose our money. We might just break even, and the positive is we'll have the coin. But for all that effort, we could have just gone, to an exchange, dropped a couple dollars on the table, and picked up Ethereum and sat back and done something else. But this is the way that we, chose to do it because we wanted to see if it was profitable. And, right now it's not looking good. Let me just go here. You can see here we've got that first month of numbers that we get daily from the site. And we've got the second set of numbers minus these couple slots. And those slots being, worth maybe $1 or $2 are not going to affect the numbers that we're seeing. So that's not much. And, the most profitable days were those first few days in the beginning of the contract. And even in this month, the first few days of the month are the more profitable ones, but we'll see where it goes. I think for now, we've got to just kind of ride it out. There's nothing else that we can do. check on it once in a while, share a video, and just see what's happening. Maybe if you guys have had similar experiences, you guys can post something down below and we could share some information, which would be great. But other than that, I think that's where we stand with the Ethereum contract and Genesis mining. Hopefully we'll have some better results coming up soon. The coin will keep climbing and it'll look a little bit nicer. So if you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. You disliked it, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button if you want to watch any of the other videos and get notified when they come out. And I would recommend maybe checking out some of the other videos. We do have some Bitcoin mining we've been doing, which definitely is profitable. And we do have the cloud mining setup that we started and where we invested some money into some equipment. And we're going to continue to build that equipment up a little bit just because it's kind of like a power hungry thing where you want to get more. Anyway, thanks for listening and we'll see you the next time.